Hi, this is a video update for the directed research conducted by Dr. Scott Easley on identifying level design flaws in 2.5D tower defense video games through real-time object detection. The goal of the research is to use video clips from YouTube and other video sharing websites, Bow Go Home Dinosaur, a tower defense game, and try to use real-time object detection to figure out what's going on in the game and track the elements, monsters, towers, and other game mechanics that are happening in the game and give that data to other designers who want to develop tower defense games. This will be outputted as a report with all this kind of data. In terms of design, we decided to dive into game design principles as the octalysis of gamification and look at the most important elements of tower defense games. Most of the elements that we looked at in our research were really connected into the difficulty progression and the balancing of the actual game. Most of how the player felt throughout the game always relied on how the balancing was done, if the player felt accomplished, if the challenge was too easy, too hard, or if it was right in the middle. This kind of useful information will allow other designers to create this perfect sweet spot, just how Go Home Dinosaur did throughout their design process. What we decided to record was these 3 levels in the first world. Go Home Dinosaur has 3 worlds with 20 levels each. And there's different monsters, different paths, and different towers available to the player to defeat monsters and complete the level. We decided to pick these levels as monsters overlap each other. They go forward and they go backwards. They go towards the right, towards the left. They walk down and up. So we had frames where you could see all the different animations of all the monsters. What we decided to do is to get these levels, play them, and record it into a controlled environment where we decided previously where to put towers, how to put them, and when to kill certain monsters. This allowed us to have many animation frames of different monsters in many different positions. These hundreds and hundreds of photos were then fed into an algorithm called Yolo, or You Only Look Once, that we decided to modify for this specific game. We then recorded data such as the movement speed of monsters, the monster's health, tower damage, and types of towers, all things that are visible throughout the level. We then started prototyping, and as you can see here, we looked at paths. Paths are very simple to analyze as the color is often consistent, and paths determine the level, like the number level. So level 17 in World 1 will have a certain path design. What we then do with the data is that we train the network and we quantify the difficulty of the analyzed scenario. We do not give a certain score, but we try to give as much information as possible on what the designers decided to do in that specific level so that other designers can understand how to create their own tower defense game levels. Here we have a wireframe for a hypothetical report. It is a sort of game breakdown where we look at what happened throughout the level. This report would come strictly from a YouTube video. So let's say that you downloaded a YouTube video and you put it into the algorithm and it spits out this game breakdown report. It will tell you how many monsters appeared on the left, how many towers were placed on the right, and some of the information about the tower. All this information was being gathered by the algorithm thanks to real-time object detection. The challenge here is that there are 3D elements, so the amount of information required is very high, but the beauty of tower defense games is that, for example, towers can't really be moved. So once you detect a tower and you're confident that that's a tower, you don't really have to check it again. Although we are outputting where the monsters died, it's not really fundamental to the game design if a monster died in a certain spot or 5 meters ahead of, because it really depends on how the player played. So in this case, we just want to know how many monsters spawned and roughly where they died. We also want to know where the towers were placed, how many towers, and what was the cost of the towers, so that other designers can translate that into their own game design and figure out how many resources they should hand out to the player. Other facts and details about the level are displayed in the center of the report, and right below you see a sort of stretch goal that we have. We want to have the algorithm understand the different level path designs and sort of understand that if a certain path looks in a certain way, it is, for example, level 117. So if we then give a video clip of 118, we want the algorithm to figure out how many more monsters were spawned compared to the previous level, how much more damage it's required to be dealt by the player, and other information similar to this. This will allow designers to really understand the difficulty progression and the approach that the designers of Go Home Dinosaurs took while designing the game. Here you can see the real-time object detection in practice. For example, on the bottom left video, you can see that some of the monsters will overlap each other. And this is a bit challenging in real-time object detection. We're still working on getting more images, but we know that when the images will be ready, we can have a confident representation of what's going on in the level. So what the algorithm currently is doing is that it's taking the hundreds and hundreds of photos that we took of every single possible frame, animation, and different position of every monster and tower, and trying to match it to what's going on the screen. For towers, it's a little bit easier because they don't move. For monsters, it has to do a little bit more work simply because they constantly move, they can die suddenly, and they can spawn suddenly. Once this real-time object detection is done, at the end of the video clip, it will give this report. Now, the designers don't have to play through this video that we're showing you. They will just receive the report. But in the report, there's going to be a link that can show them what's going on in the video, so a human can see if the algorithm missed anything and correct it or just keep that in mind. Although we're confident that the report will be accurate and it will give designers a good understanding of what happened in the game. So this is the video update. We basically have an algorithm that can get a video divided into frames and check in each frame if a certain monster or tower is placed there. If it is, it outputs it. If it's not confident enough, it checks the next frame. At the end, it just creates a report that says everything that happened in the game. And this allows designers to have an advantage because they can look at other games that they like or that they succeeded and figure out, instead of trying to guess what was the difficulty progression, what does the skill curve look like, and other factors. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and thank you for watching.